This is the Roland SP-404 MK2. The SP series is legendary within the hip-hop community. It started all the way back in '98 with the release of the SP-202. This was followed by the 303, which got used by a ton of well-known artists. Maybe most famously, J Dilla used it to make Donuts, his fantastic and tragically final record, right from his hospital bed. As you probably figured out, the 404 MK2 is the latest and greatest in this lineage, and it actually just got a firmware update. So naturally, I wanted to make a video about it. But first, I need samples. And you know what that means. That's right, it's time to go to Macys. That's not what you thought I was going to say, is it? Okay, so it's not just any Macys. This specific store on Market Street in Philly is special in that it also contains the world's largest fully functional pipe organ. There it is. Okay, let's go upstairs and check it out. This organ was built in 1904 for the St. Louis World's Fair. In 1909, John Wanamaker, founder of Wanamaker's department store, bought it and had it shipped to Philly by train so he could install it here. This used to be the Wanamaker's flagship store. Anyway, the reason I'm here is because twice a day, an organist comes in and plays a 45-minute set on this thing, and I'm hoping to sample it. Okay, looks like he's about to start. Wow, that sounds amazing. This atrium is 7 stories tall, so the reverb is really nice. As you can see in this diagram, the pipes are kind of spread out across a bunch of different floors. There are even some all the way on the top. By the way, the reason this looks like paparazzi footage is because I can't get anywhere near the organist while he's playing. Luckily, I did get to see the console up close afterwards, and it's absolutely beautiful. Check out these foot pedals. Unfortunately, the organist didn't stick around, so I didn't get a chance to find out their name. But yeah, really great show. Okay, let's go home and make some beats. I've put the audio files I recorded onto an SD card, and I'm going to import them onto the SP-404. As you can see, I'm tapping a pad to tell the SP where I want that sound to go. Each pad on the grid contains a different sound. The sounds are stereo, and they can be short, like a single drum hit, or very, very long, like this organ performance. You can set up different settings for each pad, like does it loop, does it keep playing when you hold down the pad. Once you've got your pads sounding the way you want them, then you can use the pattern editor to sequence these bits of audio into a loop. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit this start end button. That will allow me to set the start point for this sample. And I do that by just turning this knob, and I can see on the screen where in the wave file it's actually going to start playing when I hit that pad. That actually sounds great. Next, I'm going to use the third knob to change the endpoint's location, because we don't want it to play the whole file. Once we've got it sounding the way we want it, we can truncate it so that that pad only contains the audio we want. Next, I'm going to turn on looping for this pad. Nice. Let's go into pattern mode and make a quick pattern. I'm going to hit pattern select, then record, and it's going to ask me where I want to store my pattern. And we're recording. Next, I'm going to switch into chromatic mode, which is going to allow me to pitch shift the samples. Okay, so that's recorded. Let's add another layer. So one of the reasons this organ is famous is it has a huge number of different voicings. When it was built, the idea was that it could simulate a full symphony orchestra. Some of the pipes are supposed to sound like woodwind instruments. Others are supposed to sound like strings. As the organist plays, they press these little switches to change the timbre of the sound they're producing. Anyway, I want some of that in my beat. I'm going to see if I can layer another chord from another part of this performance in the hope that it has a different texture. That seems pretty good. It's finally time to try to add this to our beat. Hit record. I'm going to turn on chromatic mode so I can actually play the sample. Okay, time to add some drums. I've got a bunch of different drum hits on the SD card, and I'm just going to import them to all of the pads in the A bank. There are 10 different banks, by the way. Okay, I'm going to try to lay down a bass drum and snare pattern. Okay, it sounds decent. Now I'm going to try to add a boomy 808 bass drum hit to it. Okay, now let's add some hi-hats. And I'm going to add a second snare that only triggers some of the time. Most people construct beats on the SP by sequencing drum hits or flipping samples, but there's no reason one can't add a bass line or a lead melody. To do that, we just need to find a sound that contains just a single note that we can pitch bend. I'm just going to hit play on the entire track, and then we can see if there are any spots where there's just one note playing. This is kind of giving me a chance to relive the experience of this morning's concert, which was sort of like taking a trip back in time. The early 20th century, when this thing was built, was the heyday of department stores. Each chain was trying to outdo the next, all in an effort to convey the splendor and majesty of shopping to consumers. Even so, there's something pretty on the nose about installing an organ in a place like this, as if to say, behold your new church, Wanamaker's department store. Did you hear what I heard? Looks like we found our note. Let's sample it. I love this sound so much, but I do wish it had more reverb. So the SP has a huge number of different audio effects, and reverb is, of course, one of them. All I have to do is press the MFX button and choose reverb. Unfortunately, now that I've turned that on, that reverb will now get applied to all of the sound that comes out of the SP. Of course, that's not what we want. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to resample that one pad onto another pad. And when I do that, the new pad will contain a recording of this sample with the reverb added. Okay, let's record a lead. Once again, I'm going to make use of that chromatic mode. This time I have it set to a specific scale. This serves as kind of a guideline so I know which notes to play. I kind of like this. Admittedly, it sounds nothing like the way the organ sounded in the room, but I'm fine with that. The real question is, what would John Wanamaker have thought of this beat? I'm not sure it makes me want to shop, so he probably wouldn't be into it. These days, the organ is maintained by an organization called Friends of the Wanamaker Organ. They're very active in preserving the instrument, which I think is probably a lot of work. If you ever pass through Philadelphia, I definitely recommend going to see it at least once. As for the SP-404, we're slowly but surely becoming friends. My favorite thing about it is how open-ended it feels. There's really no one right way to use it. Some people just use it as an effects processor. Other people use it just to launch sounds during live performances. As for me, I've had it for about a month, and I'm still barely scratching the surface of the beat-making workflow. I will say the process of learning has been really enjoyable. Almost like a different part of my brain is being activated as I commit the button combinations to memory. Either way, I'm in it for the long haul, so don't be surprised if this thing turns up in upcoming videos. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, now's a great time. I've got a bunch of videos coming up, as well as some fun, decent sampler projects, so stay tuned. Okay, I think that's it. See you soon.